Welcome to the EDISS Connect New Provider Registration Part 2 tutorial. Now that the account has been validated, please click on the Login link in the validation email to continue. The username and password created in Part 1 of the registration is what would be used to log in. Once logged into EDISS Connect, the next page will display 5 security questions to select and answer. Security question answers must follow the below guidelines. For security purpose, sessions are timed, and all questions must be completed within 3 minutes. Security questions are not case sensitive. Each security question can be used only once. The same answer cannot be used for multiple security questions. Answers to security questions must be at least 4 characters long. When answering security questions, you cannot use any of the words in the security question within your answer. For example, what city or town were you born in? Answer, Panama City. If an answer is too short, an error message will display at the top of the page in red. EDISS strongly recommends that you print the page for future reference and distribute to any staff who will be accessing the accounts. Once all 5 questions have been answered, click Save Answers. It's important to keep these answers and questions in a safe spot. They are used to assist in accessing the account by answering the questions. Click Confirm Security Answers to continue. Click Continue and you will be directed to the provider dashboard. At any time, you can update the company information by clicking Edit Profile from the homepage. Next, click on Add Transaction. To the right, frequently asked questions are a quick reference that answers questions specific to the step or page you are on. Enter your 10-digit billing or group MPI number. Enter the tax ID, EIN, or SSN. Dashes should not be used. If there are additional billing NPIs for the same state and line of business, you can click on the plus sign to add additional NPIs. Once the NPI and tax ID or SSN are completed, you will click Continue. At any time, additional NPIs can be added to the account by again selecting Add Transaction. If multiple NPIs are added to a single account profile, a billing group number will be assigned to that account. This billing group would be utilized by direct submitters, those not using a third-party billing service, for transmitting or receiving electronic data via a network service vendor. Network service vendors provide a secure connection for conducting business with EDI. At any time during the Add Transaction process, you can go back to the previous step by clicking Back. However, if you have not yet clicked Continue on this page, your information will be lost. The left column will show all the states that EDISS conducts business with. To select your states, highlight the state and click Add or drag it over. The states you have selected will show up in the right column. The Remove button can be used to move a state from the right column back to the left if selected in error. Once all states have been selected, click Continue. Check only the options, professional, institutional, and/or dental, that apply when selecting what type of transactions you will be submitting. Transactions are the type of work you will be using EDI for, such as electronic claim submission or electronic remittance advice. Check all the specific transactions that apply to your NPI. The states will display from the previous step, and you will then check all that apply. When all lines of business have been selected, click Continue. The EDI enrollment form will be agreed to electronically. To view the EDI enrollment form, click the EDI Enrollment Terms and Conditions link. To accept the EDI enrollment form, check the I agree to the EDI Terms and Conditions box, then click Continue. Click on the small box under Enroll to add a checkmark to the specific transaction type that will be registered with EDISS. The transactions that are available are as follows. The 837 transaction would be selected if you are going to be sending electronic claims. The 835 transaction would be selected if you would like to get your remittance advice electronically versus on paper in the mail. Once you select this option, you cannot go back to paper. The 276 transaction is for sending bulk requests for claim status checks. And the 270 transaction is for non-Medicare lines of business only and is used to send bulk eligibility requests. You will also need to indicate who will perform the transaction. If you check the I will and or, you will be indicating that you will be performing that transaction directly to submit and or receive data using a network service vendor, or NSV, or the Noridian Medicare Portal, NMP. A network service vendor can be used to perform all three Medicare transactions. The Noridian Medicare Portal option is only related to the 837 transaction. An NSV would be needed for the 835 and 276 transactions when using the Noridian Medicare Portal. Iowa Medicaid providers would have the option to use the Iowa Web Portal for all transactions. Note, if using NMP for sending electronic claims, paper claims will need to be submitted prior to registering for NMP access, as a check number and amount are required in order to register for NMP. The check number and amount would be obtained from a remittance. If you will be using a vendor, the Add Vendor option will be selected to indicate the clearinghouse or billing service that will send and or receive the electronic data. A window will appear allowing you to search by name or vending trader partner ID. Once the correct vendor appears in the window, click on the name to highlight the vendor and click Add. You do not need to check both the I will and or and the Add Vendor options if you are only planning to use a vendor. Only vendors that perform that type of transaction for that state and line of business will display in the list. It is recommended that you work with the vendor you plan to use to obtain the correct vendor trading partner ID to avoid any further delays in registration. Once all transactions are added, click Submit at the bottom of the page to finish adding the transactions. The 837 transactions for claim submission do allow up to 2 submission methods, except North Dakota Medicaid, as they only allow one method. All other transactions are only allowed one submission and one retrieval method. Once Part 2 is completed, a summary of the transactions that have been set up will display with the ability to print this page for your records. From this page, you will have the ability to print any completed forms as well. Once you are finished, you can go to Manage Transactions to view what is set up in the account profile or add transactions to add additional NPIs. An email will be sent for each transaction to the contact listed on the account profile when approved. The transaction can be used the next day. The email will come from admin_no reply@noridian.com, and the subject line will read EDISS Connect Transaction Production Granted. Note: pay attention to the transaction that is listed in the email, as transactions may be approved at different times. The production or approval status can also be monitored by reviewing the transactions on the Manage Transaction tab. Each transaction will have its own date of production or approval. Thank you for viewing the EDISS Connect New Provider Registration Part 2 tutorial.